Yu Yu Hakusho episode 5. So this is the final episode. And yeah, we basically get our big final battle between Yusuke and younger Toguro. And that's pretty much what most of this entire episode is. We have a moment where we have Kuwabara fighting against Elder Toguro. And he's able to get some hits, but Elder Toguro is basically playing around with him. Till eventually Keiko throws an object at Elder Togoro's head and gets his attention. And he's about to kill Keiko when Kuwabara has like a flashback to seeing all of his friends getting injured in front of his eyes and not being able to do anything. And this is kind of like reminding him of that. And all of a sudden, his resolve kicks in and he creates his spirit sword and he slices up Elder Toguro into pieces. Elder Toguro just kind of puts himself back together again and he chases after the three of them. Meanwhile, we see Koenma and Botan in the spirit world, and they're watching as a bunch of the roundworms are exiting through the tunnel, and they're about to escape out the sinkhole when Koenma creates a barrier around the sinkhole. And basically, he says he's not going to be able to hold this barrier for too long. So he teleports himself into Sakyo's office, where he basically, their conversation, and he tries to beg Sakyo to stop this, and even asks Sakyo, like, why are you doing this? And Sakyo basically explains that he wants to see the world as it truly was. Like, when the world started, humans and demons lived together. Not in harmony, obviously, but they lived in the same plane. They lived on the surface together, and the demons basically slaughtered the humans and stuff. And it was like that until Koenma, twisted the barrier and prevented the demons from entering the human world. And yeah, Sakyo just wants to see that world again. He wants to see the world as it truly is. And he makes a bet with Koenma. And the bet is basically, we'll have my guy fight your guy. Younger Toguro versus Urameshi. They're already fighting each other down in the pit below. If Toguro wins, then you drop the barrier and you allow me to keep the sinkhole going, the tunnel, the gateway opening. And yeah, you just do nothing about it. But if Yusuke wins, then I will turn off the machine and I will keep the barrier sealed. Koenma's just like, well, what's to stop you from just creating another tunnel somewhere else? And Sakyo's like, all right, well, up the bet then. If Yusuke wins, not only will I turn off the machine, but I'll even kill myself. Because, this is the only dream I have. This is the goal that I've been fighting my whole life for. So if I fail to see it, there's no point in me going. So there you go. There's the deal. And Koenma has basically no choice but to accept because his power isn't going to last long enough. He can't hold the barrier up forever. Meanwhile, like all the other nobles that were in the office, they've all ran away because the windows have shattered due to Yusuke and younger Togoro's fight. So they all run off, and then eventually we see Tarukane get killed. He runs into like the cell where Yukina is supposed to be, but it's empty. And then when he turns around, there's the yokai dog, and it eats him. So yeah, he's done. Meanwhile, Yusuke is kind of pretty much just getting his ass kicked by younger Toguro. Younger Toguro is just basically like upset that this is it. Like I thought you were gonna give me a good fight. You're supposed to be Genkai's like last student. She gave you the spirit orb power, and this is all you can do. And eventually, Kurama and Hiei show up, and they start teaming up with Yusuke. But even though they're all fighting together, they're no match for younger Toguro. He's just beating the crap out of them. Back with Kuwabara, him and the girls are still being chased by Elder Toguro. They reach like a dead end, and this door like slides open for them to come in. And basically, it's Sakyo. Sakyo has opened the door for them so that he leads them basically into the pit area. And so everyone's all together now. And that's when Elder Toguro kind of just starts taunting the group about how, this is it. Like, Genkai placed her bets on the wrong person and basically says she died in vain. And that's when Kuwabara and Yusuke realize that Genkai is dead. And we get like a little bit of a backstory about younger Toguro. Basically, younger Toguro was an apprentice to Genkai. And while Genkai continued to get older and more frail, younger Toguro lived forever because he sold his soul to a demon. So he remained forever young. And eventually he confronted Genkai, realized that she had given her spirit orb wave power to someone else, and she had no more use for younger Toguro, so he killed her. Younger Toguro basically grabs his brother and tells him that even though I sold my soul, I didn't sell my honor. And then he punches his brother and causes him to fly into the wall, and he like explodes into pieces and just gets rocketed off the island. That scene is kind of a little, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit rushed. For anyone who's like kind of new, you're kind of wondering like, why the hell would he do that? So yeah, I don't know. I kind of would have liked a better explanation for why he would quote unquote kill his own brother. But yeah, basically we just get a fight, and eventually Yusuke is able to unleash his spirit orb power. The hearing the news of his master's death like triggers an emotion in him, and he's able to use the spirit power that she gave him. And I will say that I don't know. I feel like this scene didn't really impact me as much because we really didn't see them spending all that much time together. They literally only had one episode together, and it wasn't even the entire episode. Whereas in the original source material, Genkai is with Yusuke for a long time. She's with him for like over a season, I believe. A lot of chapters, a lot of episodes. So when her death finally happens, of course it's an emotional impact because she spent a lot of time with him. Whereas here, because everything got so condensed to 5 episodes, and Genkai only gets to spend one of them training Yusuke, it just, I don't know, I didn't really get the emotional impact of them discovering her death. Kuwabara and Yusuke are like really upset, and they're almost like breaking down. And it's just like, I can't really feel it. It reminds me very much of like all the deaths that are happening in the current Jujutsu Kaisen anime. And it's like, it doesn't really affect me whatsoever because we didn't really get to spend much time with these characters. So it's just kind of like, oh, they're dead. Okay, whatever. It just feels more like wasted potential than anything else. But yeah, eventually he's able to use the orb powers. He starts wailing on younger Toguro and actually doing damage. And he even knocks younger Toguro into the ground. And like, when I say knock into the ground, I mean literally into the ground. And they pretty much believe that, you know, the battle's over. They've won. But that's when there's a huge rumbling and younger Toguro pops out of the ground. And this looks like the freaking Hulk. He's now using 100% of his power. And yeah, this is just full CGI. And it's actually not that bad. Especially for like a Netflix TV series. The CGI here is actually not that bad. In fact, I would say the CGI here is better than Hulk in She-Hulk and even in the like latest Marvel movies. I think the way that younger Toguro looks here is better. Like, it's better CGI, in my opinion. But yeah, during that, Botan is like trying to figure out more about younger Toguro, and that's when we get like a brief flashback of younger Toguro. As I said before, he was a trainee under Genkai, along with a bunch of other students. And one day they were attacked by a giant demon who slaughtered everybody except for younger Toguro. He had to witness all of his friends and comrades being murdered in front of his eyes, and he didn't have the power to do anything about it. And that's when he sold his soul to become a yokai and gain all this strength. Yeah, he basically, now that he's at 100%, he just wails on everybody. He just beats the absolute crap out of everybody with no problems whatsoever. In fact, he's so strong that he can flick his thumb and cause a wind bullet just by flicking his thumb. So he's like basically shooting wind bullets, just flicking his thumb. We even have a moment where Yusuke uses his spirit gun, and all younger Toguro has to do is just yell, and the power of his yell just dissipates the spirit gun bullet. So yeah, he's freaking strong as hell. And we just kind of have like this battle of philosophy where younger Toguro is basically explaining about how Yusuke is a disappointment, how he needs more motivation if he wants to become stronger. He's like, you know, I was once like you. I sold my soul to become a yokai to gain power. You kind of have to do the same. Otherwise, you're never going to be a match for me. He's like, what does it take? What do I need to do to get your resolve going? Do I need to kill your friends in front of you? And basically, he starts targeting Keiko and Yukina. He like shoots a wind bullet at them when all of a sudden Hiei like shoves him at the last moment, so the wind bullet misses, and then he just beats up on Hiei. So eventually, Hiei's out of commission. Kurama's out of commission. Yusuke is like down and almost out for the count. Kuwabara is the only one that's kind of still standing, and he basically puts himself in front of the two girls. And that's when younger Toguro stabs Kuwabara in the stomach. And Kuwabara basically, like with his dying breath, he tells Yusuke, I thought you would be stronger than this. And then he collapses. And this is the resolve that Yusuke needs. And he basically just starts gathering his energy. And he starts wailing on younger Toguro. He starts hitting him, doing damage, knocking him around. Even Koenma and Botan are like shocked at the power that Yusuke has growing within him. And eventually Yusuke starts telling him that I now understand what Master Genkai was telling me about how if you sell your soul, if you sell your resolve, if you get rid of everything that matters and means something to you in order to gain power, then that's not true power. That's not true strength. And he's like, I'm going to put everything I have into this final shot. Let's see if you can handle it. And so Yusuke gathers all the remaining energy and resolve that he has left into one final spirit gun shot. And he shoots it at younger Toguro, who grabs the orb and starts pushing him back. And eventually it's just younger Toguro trying to hold back this blast. And eventually the blast dissipates and younger Togoro's just left standing. But he's just completely like burnt. His body's starting to slowly crumble. And younger Toguro just, he thanks Urameshi and tells him like, until now I've never had to use all my power. And he's like, this is your power that I got a taste of, huh? Not bad, Yusuke. And then he collapses on the floor and just shatters into a bunch of like ashy pieces. So younger Toguro is dead, and the day is saved. Of course, Keiko like rushes over to Yusuke, tries to see if he's okay. Yusuke turns to Kuwabara, and Kuwabara is not dead yet. He's still gasping for air. He's still alive. And so Yukina runs over and uses her powers to heal him. Meanwhile, Sakyo lives up to his word, and he shuts down the machine. The roundworms get sucked back into the orb, back into the demon world. How they get sucked in, I don't know. I guess maybe shutting down the machine and closing the gateway causes like some kind of suction effect. But they all get sucked in. Koenma and Botan leave, and Sakyo is just kind of staring into space, and he's like, I really would have liked to have seen the demon world and human world merge together. And then he pulls out his gun and puts it to his head. And we don't see him off himself, but he Minecrafts himself. Our heroes are walking down towards the boat to go back towards, their home, to leave the island. And along the way, Yukina stops Hiei and basically says, I have a brother. I've never seen him before. And Hiei stops and he pulls out the necklace that has the ice tear that he used to try to track her down earlier. And he gives it to her. And she recognizes it and asks him if he's her brother. And he says no, even though he is. He doesn't tell her the truth. He lies and says, no, I'm not your brother. And she asks, well, what's your name? Who are you? And he says, I'm a comrade to those guys down there. And he points to Kurama, Yusuke, and Kuwabara. And then we cut to the spirit world where we see younger Togoro's scroll. And it's not going into the heaven pit, and it's not going into the hell pit. Instead, it's going into this black pit. And this is basically like the worst of the worst. This is like the greatest of all hells. And Koenma was basically saying, like, I think this is what he wanted all along. Like, he witnessed all his friends die, and I don't believe that the road he walked was one of redemption, but one of torture. Like, he believes that he deserves to be tortured for failing to save his friends. And then, we cut to, I guess, the death world. I don't know exactly what world this is, but it reminds me very much of Dragon Ball Z. Forget the name of the world. Is it just the spirit world? Enma's world? I don't remember what it's called. But, when Goku dies and then he has to run along the walkway, like the dragon walkway, that's basically what this is. It's just a bunch of like spiral walkways that lead down into what I'm assuming is hell, or like the deepest pits of hell. Or maybe it's the deepest pits of the demon world. Either way, it's basically he's going to go torture himself. This is like the most evils of evils. And he's walking down this walkway when he comes across Genkai. And they have like a final moment together. And right before younger Toguro leaves, he basically says, tell Koenma that he needs to understand that Yusuke's power has only begun to reveal itself. You know, if he messes up now, he'll end up like me. And Genkai says, you know, even at the very end, you're worried about the one who beat you. But they say their goodbyes, and Toguro continues to walk down the walkway, and it starts basically shattering behind him, crumbling behind him, I should say. And yeah, our final moment is with everybody, all of our heroes on the ship back to the island. Yusuke and Keiko share a moment together. We get like a funny moment where Kuwabara is hitting on Yukina, and Hiei like comes up to him and whispers in his ear, like, leave her alone, she's too good for you. And yeah, everyone just basically starts laughing and celebrating their victory, and that's how it ends. Well, actually, we do get one last scene. It's a mid-credit scene where we cut to the beach, where we see Elder Togoro's head, his decapitated head, on the sandy beach, and a seagull comes and starts pecking at him, and he tells the seagull to go away. So he's actually still alive. And the seagull just continues pecking at his head, and he sighs, and that's how it actually ends. There you go. There's the final episode of Yu Yu Hakusho, the live-action adaptation. I really liked it. I thought it was good. I have no complaints about it whatsoever for the most part. Well, let me rephrase that. There are some things I can complain about, but I don't feel like those small complaints really harmed the series overall. Most of it was like just condensing and having to cut out a bunch of stuff. For example, Genkai's training was drastically cut to barely an entire episode. The Dark Tournament was completely like changed, so we get some aspects of it, kind of, not really though. So things like that. But at the same time, I'm like, you got 5 episodes to adapt an entire anime series. I think they did the best that they could. They basically had 5 hours to work with, and I believe that the series captured the essence of the original source material as best as it could. I think the actors were really good. I don't have any complaints about any of the acting. Once again, I watched this with the original Japanese dialogue. So I know some people complain that the English dub isn't the greatest. Some people seem to enjoy it. Some people thought that it wasn't all that great. I wouldn't know because I didn't watch it with the English dub. I watched it with the Japanese dub. And I thought the acting for everybody was pretty good. I think everybody narrows their role down perfectly. Yusuke acts like Yusuke, Kuwabara acts like Kuwabara, Hiei, Kurama, like everybody, even down to like the minor characters, like Tarukane, for example. I thought he nailed his role down pretty good. I think Goro Inagaki did an amazing job as Sakyo. I thought he was like a perfect villain, perfect mastermind. So yeah, I got no complaints about any of the characters or any of the actors. Special effects were fantastic for the most part. Yeah, there are moments where some of the CGI isn't the greatest, but it's actually like really damn good. Like I'm comparing it to recent stuff I've seen, and I think it holds up really well. I think it's way better than a lot of the Marvel stuff that we've seen lately. So yeah, the CGI, I think, while it's obvious CGI, it still does a really good job. Like it's not like completely terrible, especially for a Netflix TV series. I love the use of practical effects, especially for the fight scenes. I think they were amazing. I love the set pieces, especially of the spirit world. I think the spirit world just looks awesome. And even the end with Toguro and the spiraling walkway, I think that was kind of cool shot. But yeah, like even the special effects of Kuwabara's spirit sword and Yusuke's spirit gun, I think they were really, really good. Fight scenes were amazing, beautifully choreographed. Anything else? No, I think that's kind of covers everything. I think everything was great. I would give this series a 9 out of 10 overall. I freaking loved it. I hope that this isn't it. I hope we get a season 2. I don't know what exactly we would cover with season 2 since this kind of covers the first 2 seasons. I guess maybe we'll cover the 3rd and 4th, though. I don't know. The later seasons weren't all that great of Yu Yu Hakusho. Yu Yu Hakusho was like it peaked with the Dark Tournament and arc, in my opinion. But I don't know. Maybe they can do something different, something original. There are like OVAs of Yu Yu Hakusho. Maybe adapt some of that, or I don't know. I think there's potential though to do more, to have another season. I would love to see that. Whether we get that or not, I don't know. But even if we don't, even if this is it, I think we get some good closure. We get a good ending. Everything's kind of wrapped up. There are some things, like what is the power that Yusuke is beginning to unravel and stuff. But it doesn't need to be explored if this is the ending. Like, there's no like loose threads. Everything's kind of wrapped up in a nice little bow. So yeah, I got no complaints about this series really. I think they did the best they can. It was fantastic. It was entertaining. Amazing fight scenes, good special effects, awesome acting, great characters. They basically adapted the characters as best they can, and I think the actors and actresses nailed the roles. And yeah, I believe that this series just really captures the essence of Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, it did the best that it can with only 5 hours to work with, and I think it captures the vision and the tone and the messaging and everything. So yeah, I have no big complaints about this series. I think it's awesome. I highly recommend it, and I was very, very happy with it. So there you go. Final episode of Yu Yu Hakusho, the live action. What do you guys think? Have you guys been watching this as well? And if so, what are your thoughts? Did it hold up to, especially if you're a Yu Yu Hakusho fan? If you're a Yu Yu Hakusho fan, are you happy with this? Are you not happy with this? I thought it was great. I liked it. Obviously, I think the anime is going to be better. And of course, the manga is going to be better. But for a live action adaptation that only is 5 episodes long, I think this really like knocked it out of the park. And this is like one of those series where I will definitely rewatch over and over again. Like, it was that good to me, in my opinion. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later.